What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. Hope you're all doing very well. We are on the Holy Paladin. We are back at it. I've been doing a little bit of this on stream. I had a slight sort of detour the last couple days for Power World, having some fun on stream. If you want to check me out there, twitch.tv/ZukoVibes. We're going to have Bean was going to help me with this, and now she's walking away. What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? You going to help or what? Nope. No. Okay. We're going to talk about Holy Paladin and my experience so far in Season 3. I played this a decent amount in Season 2 and haven't really geared it since. So I've been getting some gear. I've got a couple of lucky vaults. We are starting to get some gear, but we're only 459. Our trinkets are like abysmal, and a couple of other pieces are really, really low as well. So bear with me. We only have 2 pieces. I have 3 out of the 4 pieces that I need, but it has been incredibly difficult just to get that 4th piece. I've tried and tried. I've done so many dungeons, and I've not been able to do it. So that's been kind of frustrating. And then I got really unlucky with the timing with which I came back to play. I did a bunch of 18s on Tyrannical like a week ago, and then forgot to do Fortified Week at all on this guy. So I'm not able to get to 2K rating probably realistically like this week. We'll see. I might get it next week, but anyway, we're getting there. I want to just give a little impression on how Holy Paladin feels in Season 3 because it has been sort of a difficult slog, I would say. I was going to say that Subcreation has been, or sites like Subcreation have rated Holy Paladin fairly low, and that's, for good reason. There are some real struggles with this spec right now. It has really struggled just in general. That's Mythic Plus. If we look at Raid, it's down in the C tier again for Raid as well. So the main struggles that I find with this spec are damage. Its ability to do damage. These are a couple dungeons that I was doing. There's an 18 Everbloom and an 18 Throne. I'll show you them in a second. But my damage overall is just abysmal. It's partially because I didn't take Blessing of Summer, and I understand that. I know you're supposed to take Summer, so before you all flame me in the comments, I understand what Blessing of Summer does. I understand how all 4 of the buffs work. I just wanted to take it for some more HPS. I wanted to take Merciful Auras for some more HPS because I felt like people were dying. One thing that is really good about Holy Paladin that feels really great to me is the amount of tools that they have, right? You have your biggest one probably being Tears Deliverance, right? You slap that on, and then every time you Holy Shock, it's going to extend the buff on everybody, and they're going to receive more healing from you. It lasts forever because you're taking Boundless Salvation. It is a really, really good cooldown. That's your biggest one for sure. And then with the tier set bonus, of course, the new one for this season focuses a lot on Daybreak. You're pressing Daybreak, and then you get to do those triple Holy Shocks. And then you can immediately do a Spender and then triple Holy Shock into a Spender, right? It's really, really good. And, of course, with the tier set bonus, it stacks up these Holy Reverberations that you have. That's what this gives you. Your Glimmer turns into a Holy Reverb. So very, very, very cool. Very good cooldown. Then, of course, you've got things like Hand of Divinity, which you can use with your Tears Deliverance to do a massive Holy Light instantly. And it will actually continue to extend Tears Deliverance if you keep that going. You have big things like Lay on Hands. You have a 1-minute Blessing of Sacrifice, which is insane. With Echoing Blessings, this increases the damage reduction by 15%. So instead of it being a 20% DR, it's a 35% DR, which is completely bonkers. You've got Divine Toll in the class side, which obviously works really, really well with the current tier set bonus. I'm taking Divine Resonance as well so that it keeps casting Holy Shocks. Those Holy Shocks are going to add Glimmers, and those Glimmers are going to add these Holy Reverberations with the tier set bonus. So a lot of really good tools here. I was also experimenting with Barrier of Faith, and I'll show you that in a minute. I really like this spell. I think it's actually really incredible for healing. Just for some extra HPS on a single target. It did 3.6% of my healing there. Remember, it doesn't overheal, so it's actually 3.6%, which is very good. A lot of other abilities that I show you guys sometimes, it's like, oh, it does like 4% of your healing, but it's overhealing by like 40%. So just keep that in mind. If we look at the Everbloom that I did, it did, oh no, that was the 3.6%. I think it's the next one. The Throne, where is it here? Oh, I have to change this one down here. Sorry, there we go. There we go. There. On the Everbloom, it did 5% of my healing overall. So there's a lot of value to be found in this cooldown. It's really, really cool. If you've never used Barrier of Faith, essentially you throw it on somebody, and then every time you use your Holy Shock or your Holy Light and Flash of Light, if you use an effective spell, it has to effectively heal somebody. It can't just overheal them. You have to actually heal somebody with those spells. It will accumulate all that healing, and then it will give another barrier. It will keep refreshing the barrier on that person, and it lasts for a very, very long time. It's for the next 24 seconds. You can keep getting this barrier refreshed. So it hit somebody for 150k a couple of times, and again, it does not overheal. So there are some great tools that Holy Paladin has. The struggle is absolutely going to be damage, though, and I think that is one of my biggest gripes about this right now. If you don't take Light's Hammer, if you don't take things like Blessing of Summer, and if you don't have really, really powerful trinkets, which is the primary way that people are doing damage on Holy Paladin, then it's really abysmal, right? If you're missing some DPS trinkets, there's a lot of people that are taking, like, Augury, or they're taking the Ferox Tainted Rage Heart. This is, like, one of the biggest ones that I've seen all Holy Paladins taking is this stupid trinket here, where you do a bunch of damage, and you do damage to yourself, but it's fine because you're healing. Like, the fact that they have to get a huge chunk of their damage from either Ferox or Augury is really stupid, in my opinion. And I don't know, that's a real tragedy. Like, my healing on my Mistweaver Monk is huge. My trinkets for my Mistweaver Monk are really big for healing purposes in, like, a raid scenario. And when I'm in Mythic Plus, I have one trinket that I'm wearing that does a really good amount of damage. It does like 6% of my damage overall. These trinkets here for Holy Paladin are doing like 20% of their damage overall. So that's really like a sad state that Holy Paladin's in if that's the case. But generally speaking, I am really enjoying Holy Paladin, but there are some obvious problems with this spec. And I think that is a very frustrating experience to be having right now, where I am I'm just like, man, I wish that I could just do more passive damage like a lot of the other healers do, because to me that's what you need. Now, this was a huge pack here. That's what you need for all your healers. You need a lot of passive damage so that you're able to focus on healing and just have decent amounts of damage going off in the background. My Resto Shaman can do like Healing Rain plus a couple of Flame Shocks, and that'll do like 80k DPS. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And I have other things that help me, like an Iridol Staff. I know that exists as well. But my frustration with Holy Paladin is that passive damage in the background is not enough. Things like Consecration being on the ground, they're just not enough. Oh, the huge one pack was back here. Give me 1 second. It's just not enough. It looks like it should be enough, but it just isn't. And if you have like Consecration and then like Hammer of Wraths going when people get into Execute, and then you're like occasionally Holy Shocking enemies, you would think that is kind of enough. It's nowhere near enough. You have to dump like your entire Divine Toll with a Consecration and a Blessing of Summer and a like Light's Judgment or Hammer of Judgment, whatever. Not sorry, the one that you put on the ground. You'd have to dump all that stuff into damage, and you would still barely be maybe equaling what a Resto Shaman can do, what a Mistweaver Monk can do, what a Resto Druid can do. Resto Druid can just put like Sunfire, Moonfire, and like one Thrash from Kitty form, and you're doing like 60, 70k DPS. And like the really good Resto Druids right now, like J.B, they're doing like 200, 300k DPS. Like, Paladin is in the dumpster when it comes to damage. Their healing is good. Look at this pack that I'm doing right now. This is like really good. 180, 190k. Remember, I'm 459 right now. I actually just upgraded a bunch of my gear. I was like 457 a minute ago. But look at this. This is insane, the amount of healing. Rich goes and pulls a couple of extra packs because we were missing some percent. Now we're going to go on to the boss. I'm just going to show you this boss fight because these boss fights on Tyrannical are very, very difficult. And I want to highlight how powerful I think Paladin can be on the healing side. I've talked for a second there about like the damage side is just really abysmal. It's really bad. They did give some recent buffs to Paladin damage, but it's like, it's laughable. It's so stupid. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. It's really, really bad. Now, with the build that I have going right here, I am also taking a Veneration. Just give me 1 second to talk about that. We're going to get into that fight. I really like Veneration. I don't think people take this, generally speaking. I haven't looked up all the different builds, but I think for the most part, people do not take this. I really like it a lot. I think it's a great spell. Yes, I'm not even taking an upgrade to wings at all. You still get your base level 2-minute wings, and it increases your damage and healing done by 20%, or for 20 seconds, sorry. I could upgrade it to get the extra crit from Hammer of Wrath Might, but instead I'm just going to go into Veneration because I really, really like this. Make sure Hammer of Wrath become a healing spell, and then, of course, I have 2 charges of Hammer of Wrath with Vanguard's Momentum. I understand that is not the meta play, what people do. I understand. You don't have to yell at me in the comments. I get it. It's just something I love about Holy Paladin. I really love having those extra Hammer of Wrath, and the amount of healing might surprise you. I'll show you at the end of the dungeon here how much healing we actually did. I think you'll be surprised by how much healing Veneration is doing. It is a really, really good amount. Now, this boss fight does not last very long because we have some absolutely ridiculously geared players, and this is only an 18. I am heavily under gear, but I'm getting carried by my buddies here, which is really nice. But I did want to put this to the test, Holy Paladin, and really see what is this like in difficult boss situations on Tyrannical Week. This is what it kind of feels like. So, again, talking about their healing, I think that they have a lot of tools that really give them a huge amount of reach. You can just keep healing for a very, very, very long time, especially because the current tier set bonus reduces the cooldown of Daybreak, which I don't have 4 set. Remember that. I do not have 4 set yet. I only have my 2 set. So I'm not getting the extra cooldown reduction, and I'm not getting that crazy burst of haste from casting Daybreak, which is what you get as well. Daybreak can also be used offensively in a really, really big way, and I think you kind of have to do that. I'm not able to do that right now because I don't have the 4 set, but the healing is just really, really strong from Paladin. When you need a big burst of healing, either on 1 or 2 people or on your entire party, they can do that. You pop Tears Deliverance, you hit something like what I just did right there, the Holy Shocks going off. There's my Hammer of Wrath going off, healing people. Daybreak, obviously, is the cooldown star that I'm thinking of, and then you get those Holy Shocks, bing, 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 and then you hit somebody with a Word of Glory, and then boom, 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 you hit him with 3 Holy Shocks, then another Word of Glory, or a Light of Dawn, whatever you want to do. And then it all spreads into your beacons. You can see the healing we're doing right now, 180k, which is awesome. This is really, really awesome. It can pump crazy amounts of healing. I've really enjoyed supplementing the build with Barrier of Faith as well. I feel like it's actually a super strong cooldown and helped a lot with bursting, where I would put the shield on somebody and then Holy Shock a bunch of people, and then the shield would refresh, and it would just keep getting value. So the healing is good. The healing is actually great no matter which way you build this sucker. It's that the damage is, like, absolutely abysmal. It is so bad. Here's a really, this is a tough pack here, of course. Not the boss yet, but the boss is going to do the same thing, which is really good. I do have Barrier of Faith. I throw it on Rich. And then I sack our Hunter, and then I use my own defensive. So, again, 35% DR on him right now, and then I have a 20% DR, whatever this shield is. I forget what it is. I think it's 20%. So, like, you know, you can just do that. You just, like, you're okay, you're fine over there. It has these really, really good tools to help individually save people if you need it. And that's something that a lot of other healers lack, and I really like that about Holy Paladin, is this sort of, you're sort of ping-ponging. I think Resto Shaman actually plays very similarly right now, something that I think I've talked about in the past, where I feel like Resto Shaman can kind of fulfill that role of triage healing multiple people at the same time with you if you have the right setup with your build. Now, here's the boss fight. This is very tough with Archmage Soul. Again, I'm heavily under-geared. I've got my beacons out. I've got Tears Deliverance to start. You want to do that right away because she does a big amount of fire damage here. Here it comes. Then I'm just individually healing people. You could blow Daybreak here if you want to. I think I just held off, and I used my Hammer of Wraths to get people up. We're doing 120k HPS right away, right out of the gates. We're going to get another fire phase from this chick right now. So Tears Deliverance is still running. I'm holding my hammer right now. I have the talent that's going to get me a free Hammer of Wrath Awakening, right? And so I'm holding, going to get me a free wings proc. Sorry, said that wrong. So this is going to give me wings. I'm holding it right now until the fire comes out. Then there's my wings, and I'm going to throw my Hammer of Wraths to heal people. Hammer of Wrath, and then I heal people individually. I can sack ATQ or attack. He ends up dying anyway. It's unfortunate. I think he just stood on the fire for a second. Not a big deal. We get him back up. Now I'm doing Barrier of Faith, and I just start healing. And again, I think this is where Barrier of Faith can get a ton of extra value, where you just throw it on somebody, and then you're holy shocking everybody else. Those effective holy shocks will continue to refresh that barrier, and the barrier ends up lasting for like 30 to 40 seconds because it lasts for 12 seconds baseline, and then you keep refreshing it up to 24 seconds later. So this is probably around a 30-second duration if you can do that now. If you keep casting it on cooldown, I think it's just a really, really effective tool to help you continue to triage people. Like, you can go barrier into a Divine Toll, which I just did right there, and every one of those Divine Toll Holy Shocks is going to pump into that next barrier proc a couple seconds later, and it's going to do a lot of healing. It's going to be a very, very large shield. So there's ways to game that to make it really good. So there's Archmage Soul. Again, these bosses in Everbloom are probably the most difficult, I think. If I had to think about a dungeon that is the most difficult on on Tyrannical Week. Sorry, I'm trying to write something here and it's not working. There we go. I think it's Everbloom, and I think Subcreation agrees. Let me just look really quick. Yeah, Everbloom is F tier. It's F tier this week, right? So it's just a very, very hard dungeon. Let's get to the final boss. I'll show you really quickly here what's going on, and then we'll get to the overall numbers. I want to show you how good some of these spells did. Veneration, Barrier of Faith especially. So here on something like Yalnu, I'm holding my major healing until the ad comes out. So I want my Tears Deliverance to last as long as possible here. You can also freedom yourself out of the roots that you can get from entangling. I end up actually freeing Asterial later on. He can just fade. I understand that Priest can fade and break roots, but I thought I would just help him out with movement later on. So here comes the ad. Tears Deliverance is down. My Hammer of Wraths go out. Lots of healing. And then I'm going to make sure I pop a Divine Toll if somebody's going to get low. There we go. There's Divine Toll. And then I'll save Daybreak. I shouldn't necessarily save Daybreak. Actually, Daybreak should be the first cooldown that I end up using. But again, I don't have the 4-piece yet, so I don't have that 15-second cooldown on it. Once I get that, I will be using Daybreak more liberally. I'll be using it as like my absolute first go-to cooldown to make sure that I'm able to heal people off. Again, we get a refresh on our Hammer of Wraths. I really appreciate how much healing Veneration did. Look at that. It just hit everybody. It crit everybody so hard right there. So I do think it's a great talent to take. And then I'm going to have a barrier here. I'm going to put barrier on Asterial. And then everybody's going to take damage here in a minute. I'm holding my Hammer of Wraths so that I can heal people with them. There we go. Hammer of Wrath once again. And then I'm going to start holy shocking everybody and make sure that they get topped off. And that Barrier of Faith is going to keep refreshing on Asterial. I do not have Tears Deliverance up. It's on a couple people right now, but not. Oh no, it is actually ticking on everybody. So there we go. Everybody gets kind of low there. Here comes Daybreak, I think. There we go. Daybreak. Boom, boom, boom. And I hit somebody with a Word of Glory, and then we triple Holy Shock into a Word of Glory. The reason I'm doing triple Holy Shock into Word of Glory is because I have Beacon of Faith, and I know that Beacon of Virtue is a very good talent to take on bursting weeks. I understand that. I'm a Beacon of Faith enjoyer. I really love the double Beacon, and you can just put it on 2 priority targets, and it's just so good. I just love that. But I understand the value of Virtue. I really, really do. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to say that Beacon of Faith is kind of like my preferred choice here. I think Virtue has a lot of value this week for sure because of bursting. And a couple times people died in the key because I wasn't able to keep them up. And if I had Virtue, it probably would have worked out. Okay, let's look at the overall. Once again, Barrier of Faith did 5% of our healing. That's a surprising number to me, and I think that this is a very valuable talent, something I'm going to keep playing with. There's Veneration, 7% of my healing. This is just from throwing Hammer of Wrath and healing people with it. I cannot get over how good this is, and I think that people really need to understand how powerful of a talent this is. It's only a 1-point talent. You're taking 1 point here, and it gives you 7% more healing. That is a ton of extra healing. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of value to be had in this talent right here, and I think that if you guys have never played around with it, I think that you should. I think it's okay to drop the extra wings buff potentially. Maybe there's another talent you could get rid of in order to get the wings buff. Maybe Awakening. I'm not sure. I think Awakening is a pretty good talent, but I just think this is so strong. And Merciful Auras, once again, is also super good. It ended up only doing 4.4% of my healing, but there's no overhealing. Barrier of Faith and Merciful Ores both did not overheal. So, and Veneration basically didn't overheal either. It only overhealed 10%, which is a very low number if you play healers. So, anyway, I really love the healing setup for Holy Paladin. I'm very disappointed by the DPS and how hard you have to work to get damage going, and then for it to basically result in no damage coming out at all is a very, very frustrating experience. And yeah, I just think that Blizzard needs to really fix the passive damage, something like Consecration getting buffed a little bit more, or otherwise Shield of the Righteous just has to hit like an absolute Mac truck, and it doesn't right now. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. This is just kind of my first impressions of how Holy Paladin is feeling in Season 3. I do not have 4-piece yet. Once I get that, I'm going to do an update video for you guys on how it really feels. Because I actually feel like once I get the 4-piece and I get Daybreak, the big burst of haste and the cooldown reduction on Daybreak is going to allow me to get more offensive with my Daybreak uses. I'm going to be using Daybreak all the time, and I think that I'm going to be able to use it more offensively. So, like, I could Divine Toll the entire pack, get all my Holy Shocks on them, and then I could start triple Holy Shocking this guy and doing, like, a Shield of the Righteous, and then triple Holy Shocking Shield of the Righteous. So I'm going to play around with that once I get it online. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much again for watching. I love you all. Please let me know how you're feeling with Holy Paladin right now in the current patch. I would love to hear from you down there. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. I love you. I will see you in the next one.